Enriquez Salimugan, and I'm going to discuss about the chapter 3, the right to ancestral domain and ancestral land. So last meeting, Sir Duma and Samya discussed about the ancestral domain, which refers to the broader territory including lands, waters, natural resources traditionally held by indigenous cultural communities or ICCs or indigenous peoples or IPs. While the ancestral land specifically refers to land occupied and utilized by individuals, families, or clans within the ICCs or IPs. But now let's proceed to the chapter 3, and we have here the section 7, which refers to the ancestral domain. And we have here the 8 rights in section 7. The first one here is the right of ownership, or karapatan ng mga indigenous people na akitin yung mga pagmamayari nila, most especially sa kanilang kalupaan or bodies of water. So this right, the right of ownership, encompasses ownership over the lands and bodies of water they traditionally occupy, as well as sacred places and hunting grounds. It recognizes their claim to these areas, emphasizing that ancestral domains are considered their private but communal property, belonging to all generations and not to be sold and destroyed. So, wala karapatan ng ibang tao na akinin yung yung pamamayari ng IPs na mga kalupaan. Bawal ibenta or bawal sirain. Next na right is the right to develop lands and natural resources. So this is to grant indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples the right to develop, control, and use the lands and natural resources within their ancestral domains. This includes managing and conserving resources for future generations, benefiting from their utilization and negotiating terms for resource exploration while ensuring environmental protection. So next right is the right to stay in the territories. This right is to reside within their ancestral domains without fear or displacement or removal. Forced relocation is prohibited without free and prior informed consent and only through eminent domain. So next right is the right in case of displacement. O kumaga, in case na ma-displace yung mga indigenous people. So it states that in this right, if indigenous cultural communities or IPs are displaced due to natural catastrophes, the government must resettle them in suitable areas with temporary life support systems, ensuring their right to return to their abandoned lands once safe. If return is possible, they should receive secure tenure over resettled lands, basic services, and livelihood support. The next right is the right to regulate entry of migrant settlers. In this right, grants indigenous cultural communities or IPs to regulate the entry of migrant settlers and organizations into their ancestral domains. This provision allows ICCs or IPs to control who enters their territories, helping them to preserve their culture, traditions, and way of life from outside influences and potential exploitation. So next right is the right to safe and clean air and water. So indigenous people have the right to safe and clean air and water within their ancestral domains. This provision ensures that ICCs or IPs have access to integrated system for managing their inland waters and airspace, protecting these resources from pollution and degradation to maintain their health and well-being. So next is the right to claim past preservation. So this is the right to claim portions of land previously designated as preservations. This provision allows ICCs or IPs to reclaim ancestral domains that may have been included in government reservations, ensuring that these lands are returned to the rightful traditional owners. Last right is the right to resolve land conflicts. So, in this right, this is the right to resolve and conflicts within their ancestral domains according to their commune customary laws. So sa kanilang community, meron silang sariling mga leaders na namumuno sa isang community to fix their problems or to fix the conflicts. So if these customary laws are insufficient, the conflicts can be submitted to amicable settlement and, if necessary, to the formal courts of justice. So this provision respects indigenous methods of dispute resolution while ensuring access to national legal system as last resort. So let's proceed with the section 8, which is the ancestral land. So the definition is the ICCs or IPs have the right to transfer land or property rights to or among members of the same ICCs or IPs subject to customary laws and traditions of the community concerned. So, in section 8, ancestral is the right of redemption. Is the right to transfer. This transfer must adhere to the customary laws and traditions of the specific community to ensure that the land remains within the group and is managed according to their established practices. This provision aims to preserve the cultural integrity and communal ownership of ancestral lands. Next, let's proceed to the right of redemption reflected in section 8. So, within 15 years in cases where it is shown that the transmission of land or property rights by virtue of any agreement or divide. So, in section 8, right of redemption, it is the right to redeem land transferred to non-members within 15 years if the transfer involved batarian consent or unconscionable pricing. So this provision allows ICCs or IPs to reclaim ancestral lands if they were unfairly disadvantaged in land transaction with individuals outside their community. So let's proceed with the chapter 4, which is the right to self-governance and empowerment. So we have here section 7, the right to determine and decide priorities for development. So in here is the ICCs or IPs shall have the right to determine and decide their own priorities for development affecting their lives, beliefs, institutions, spiritual well-being, and the lands they own, occupy, or use. So, in section 7 of the IPRA is a cornerstone of indigenous people's right, granting indigenous people, indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples the power to shape their own development priorities. This means ICCs or IPs have the authority to determine what kind of development they want, how it should be implemented, and the pace at which it should proceed, ensuring it aligns with their cultural values, beliefs, as well as the spiritual well-being. This right extends to all aspects of their lives and the lands they own, occupy, or use, recognizing their unique connection to their ancestral domains. Section 17 emphasizes that ICCs or IPs should be at the forefront of decisions that impact their communities, fostering self-determination and protecting their cultural heritage from unwanted or harmful external influences. Okay, let's proceed to the what policies charged with implementing the provision of the IPRA. So here, the law created the NCIP, or National Commission of Indigenous Peoples, as a primary government agency responsible for the formulation and implementation of policies. So yan ang sinabi ni Ms. Liao, ang NCIP ang nagre-regulate or gumagawa ng policies or to implement the policies para sa mga indigenous people, plus or progress to recognize, protect, and promote the rights of ICCs or IPs with due regard to their various customs, traditions, and institutions. Okay, so let's proceed to the chapter 5, social justice and human rights. We have here in the section 25, the basic services. So here, the basic services of the ICC or the justice human rights, the ICC or IP have the right to special measures for the immediate, effective, and continuing improvement of their economic and social conditions. Let's proceed to the chapter 6, which is the cultural integrity. We have here the section 23, the right to religious, cultural sites, and ceremonies. Here, ICCs or IPs shall have the right to manifest, practice, develop, and teach their spiritual and religious traditions, customs, and ceremonies. So specifically, addresses the right to religious, cultural sites, and ceremonies. This section affirms that ICCs or IPs have the right to manifest, practice, develop, and teach their spiritual and religious traditions, customs, and ceremonies without interference or discrimination. So let's consider that last note. Section 24, because meron pang continuation ito sa Sinora explained or sa Santi. So in section 24, the right to indigenous knowledge, systems, and practices and to develop all sciences and technologies. So ICCs or IPs are entitled to the recognition of the full ownership and protection of the cultural and intellectual rights. So, Section 24 of the IPRA, found within the Chapter 6 on cultural integrity, focuses on the right to indigenous knowledge, systems, and practices, and to develop own sciences and technologies. This provision emphasizes that ICCs or IPs are entitled to the recognition of the full ownership, control, and protection of the cultural and intellectual rights. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I am Rika C. Ogdaman, and today I'm going to discuss about rights and ancestral domain. Under the Indigenous People Rights Act, EPRA of 1997, or RAT, 837, indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples are granted a set of rights to ensure the protection, ownership, and sustainable of their use of ancestral lands and domains. These rights recognize their unique culture, identity, and traditional practices. The Indigenous People Rights Act, or IPRA, was created because indigenous communities in the Philippines have long protected, cared for, and lived on their ancestral lands, even before there was a government, cities, or modern laws. These lands carry their memories, their stories, or the footsteps of their ancestors. EPRA recognizes this connection. It gives indigenous people a set of rights to make sure their ancestral domains are protected, respected, and passed on to future generations. These rights remind us that indigenous communities are not just occupying land. They are safeguarding a heritage that is centuries old. Through EPRA, indigenous peoples are given the power to own and care for their ancestral territories, use the land in ways that support their community, and honor their traditions, protect their culture, identity, and sacred places, make decisions about what happens on their land without being pressured by outsiders. The different rights given to indigenous peoples to protect not just their land, but their lives, culture, and dignity. These rights exist because indigenous communities have lived in their ancestral territories long before modern laws was created. Their land is where they raised their families, told their stories, and practiced their traditions. So the first right is the right to ancestral domains or lands. This means indigenous peoples are recognized as the true owners of the land where their ancestors lived for generations. Their land is part of their identity. It holds their memories, their sacred places, and their way of life. The law protects this connection and ensures no one can take their home away from them. The second one is right to develop and manage land. This right gives indigenous communities the freedom to decide how they want to use and take care of their land. They know the land best. They grow up with it, learn from it, and survive because of it. This right lets them protect the forest, grow their crops, manage their resources, and plan for their future based on what they believe and is best for their people. So the third one is right to self-governance and empowerment. Indigenous communities have their own leaders, customs, and ways of solving problems. This right respects their traditional governance systems and let them manage their own affairs. It empowers them to lead their community without outsiders forcing decisions on them. So next is right to social justice and human rights. This ensures that indigenous peoples are treated fairly and humanly. They should have access to education, healthcare, livelihood, and protection from discrimination. It reminds everyone that IPs deserve the same respect and opportunities as any Filipino. So the next one is right to cultural integrity. Their culture, languages, rituals, dances, and beliefs is part of who they are. These rights protect their traditions from being erased or disrespected. It ensures that future generations can continue practicing the customs passed down by their ancestors. The next one is right to free and prior informed consent of our FPIC. No project, mining, logging, dams, or any development can enter their land without their clear and honest permission. This right protects them from exploitation and ensures they fully understand the impact of any activity before saying yes or no. And the last one is right of ancestral domain title or CADT. This right is a official document given by the government that proves that the land belongs to the indigenous community. It strengthens their claim and protects their territory from being taken, sold, or used without their approval. So thank you, sir. And once again, I am Mika C. Undami.
Good day, everyone. I am Nova Valdez, and I will discuss the social justice and human rights in the National Commission of Indigenous People. So first, we have the legal foundation. So the main law, that is the main law that protects indigenous people and Republic Act 8371, or also known as the Indigenous People Rights Act or the IPRA law. So this law states that IPs must be respected and protected. Their culture, identity, lands, and human rights must be valued because of this law. So the government created the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples or NICP. So we have here an example. So if a company wants to build a road or a resort in an ancestral land, they are not allowed to start immediately. They must follow the rules under IPRA, and they must take to the IP community, talk to the IP community first rather. Sorry. So NICP makes sure that a company follows the law. So next is we have the NICP's core rules. So the main vision of the NICP is simple. So they protect the rights, welfare, and dignity of indigenous people. So example, if an IP community reports that the river is being polluted by a company, the NCIP can step in, investigate, and help fix the problem. So it means that the NICP works to enforce IPRA in all regions of the Philippines. So they make sure that IPs are treated fairly and respected. So next is the Office of Empowerment and Human Rights. So this office focuses on programs that protect the political, cultural, and economic rights of IPs. So it works to prevent discrimination and human rights abuses. So it ensures that IPs enjoy the same rights and freedom as all other Filipinos. So example, if an IP student gets bullied in school because of their accent or cultural clothes, OEHR can help address the case and give support. So next, we have the legal support and protection. So NICP has a team of lawyers in their legal affairs office. So their job is to help indigenous people when legal problems arise. So they provide legal advice, they help IPs file cases, they guide them in disputes about ancestral lands or cases of discrimination. Number 5, we have the social justice provisions from IPRA and NCIP. justice means fairness and equal opportunities for everyone, including indigenous people. So under IPRA and NCIP guidelines, IPs are guaranteed equal protection like any Filipino citizen. So this includes the freedom from discrimination, fair employment, protection of children, and also safety during armed conflict. Next, we have the promotion and self-governance. This means that IPs have the right to choose their own leaders and make decisions for their own communities. So one important strategy is the appointment of indigenous people's mandatory representatives or IPMRS. So IPMRS sit in local government councils, meaning they can vote, speak, and participate in discussions. Number 7, protection of ancestral lands. Ancestral lands are very important to indigenous people. It is where their culture, beliefs, and identity came from. So an ICT safeguards this land through legal documents like a certificate of ancestral domain title and certificate of ancestral domain claim. So before any projects can enter an IP community, a free, prior, and informed consent or FPIC is required. So this means no projects can start unless the community fully understands and agrees. Number 8, we have the social development programs. So in ICT also helps IPs through different development programs. So these programs focus on education, livelihood, health, cultural preservation. And in ICT works with other government agencies like the DepEd, ZOLE, and the SWD. So we have here an example. So in ICT and DepEd, they create learning modules in mother tongue of the IP group to make education more meaningful. Next is the independence and accountability. NICP is an independent agency under the office of the President. So this means it should not be influenced by local politicians. So this independence helps NICP make decisions that truly protect indigenous peoples. So however, there are ongoing debates about new laws that may affect this independence. So NCIP must remain transparent and accountable. So next is the current challenges. So despite its efforts, the NCIP still faces several challenges. So this includes slow processing of ancestral domain titles, not enough IP representatives in local governments, conflicts between IP communities, and big companies like mines or plantations, also reports of discrimination and harassment. So this delay makes them more vulnerable of land grabbing. That's all. Thank you.
So this is the continuation of the report of Mr. Sajid Khan Arinugan. So the topic is all about Section 35. So Section 35 is access to biological and genetic resources, access to biological and genetic resources, and to indigenous knowledge relatable to conservation, utilization, and enhancement of these resources. So it means that Section 35 of IFRA is under Chapter 6 on cultural integrity, addressing access to biological and genetic resources and indigenous knowledge, emphasizing the rights of indigenous cultural communities and indigenous people related to conservation, utilization, and enhancement of these resources. So it means that it also that recognize the vital role of ICC or IPs of safeguarding biodiversity and traditional knowledge, entitling them to protect and control their knowledge system, practices, and innovation related to biological and genetic resources. So the next is Section 12 by the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or the NCIP. So it is function in relation to ancestral domains and lands. So this is the part of a function in relation to ancestral domains and lands. First is titling of ancestral and domain or land. So the NCIP is responsible for officially recognizing the rights of indigenous cultural communities and indigenous peoples over their ancestral domains and lands by issuing titles. So next is registration of CADP and CALPS. So in this is the NCIP issues that certification are required before certain, for example, development projects and development resources of its extraction can be undertaken within ancestral domains. And also this ensures that the rights of interest of ICCs or IPs are considered and protected. So the next is action on fraudulent claims. So in this topic is to take appropriate legal action for enforcement of the rights of ICC or IPs. So the next is that I have said, like the next is the letter is that to take appropriate legal action for the enforcement of the legal rights of IPs or ICCs. Then the next is chapter 13, which is the delineation and recognition of ancestral domains. So section 57, natural resources within ancestral domains. So that means that the ICC or IPs shall have priority rights in the harvesting, extraction, development, or exploitation of any natural resources within the ancestral domains. So when ICCs have priority rights to harvest, extract, and develop or exploit natural resources within their ancestral domains, non-members can participate in these activities for a period of 25 years, renewable, and if there's a normal 4-month written agreement with the ICC or IPs and the community agrees under its own decision-making process. So the last is section 58, environmental consideration. Environmental considerations are critical areas within ancestral domains such as watersheds, and protected areas shall be maintained and managed for environmental purposes. If parts of ancestral domains are deemed necessary for critical watersheds, mangroves, and wildlife sanctuaries, wilderness area, protected area, forest cover, or reforestation, they shall be maintained, managed, and developed with the full participation of ICC or IPs concerned. And that's all po. Thank you.